Mr. Bill,
Yes,
did
sir.
you want to share your experience before we forget about it? I mean, we're not planning to
I
end
had
the
the
show.
opportunity to do a little sketch of it since I was waiting.
Okay.
So anyhow, I just felt like it. I hadn't sketched it before, so I figured I might as well.
So this is your first sighting, actual sighting, right? Is what you're going to share with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've always said that the connection, I mean, the ultimate is to know them in your heart and in the energetic way that we're talking about. And I realized that when I had my first sighting, but still, it's still pretty cool to see them for the first time. It's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a level of like accepting not to ever see them again or to ever see them. And then they do, just like kind of like the experience of love in some relationships. Like I'm okay being single, and then you meet somebody that's okay being single together, and boom, okay, there you go. Like there's your path. But in that kind of note,
Yeah.
anyhow, there's a tiny little sketch that I'll show you right there. So like the little stump at like a 90-degree angle or 80-degree angle, and then behind this was standing this little black blob that was behind it. So the beginning story to it, I was driving with my girlfriend, and I had driven past this spot 5 times, 3 times in the same direction to see it and recognize it on the 3rd time. But we went hiking and up the hill just to get outside of like onto a little ridge line to actually see the skyline, because it was pine forest. We wanted to get outside of there. So our pants were wet. Both of us changed where we parked the truck and then drove this tiny little V section. Get to our spot. We were going to spend the night. Oh, I dropped my clip from my thigh holster. Go back, find it, drive all the way back. She realizes she dropped her phone too. So we drive back again, find her phone, and drive back a 3rd time. And so again, this first time I recognized this. So the size of that tree stump right there to the 80-degree angle towards the highway. So as it was, the clearing of the highway was, I don't know, again, 2 or 3 lanes wide. So it's only about 40, 50 feet away, really. But the size of my pinky is about the height of my truck, I would assume, at that length. So my pinky at arm's length would be the size of this charged tree stump standing there that I recognized the first time and the second time, and on the 3rd to recognize this figure standing right behind it. And again, it was at the very center. So again, paying attention just to my peripherals as I'm driving, just talking to each other. And so again, in peripherals, I recognize it. Okay, that's a cool stump right there. 2nd time, cool, and everything's the same. And then the 3rd time, about as far as I could imagine, again, comparatively to that size, but this little egg comparatively to my pinky, and like half added onto my pinky segment, was taller, this black shape. So again, from my lights hitting it on the dead center of it was like golden honey colored. And then the majority of the color was like the deep red honey, and then faded to brown and black on the outside, just to kind of on the outline. So the majority of it was that red deep honey color. So I think as that 3rd time passing it, he was just standing there and he actually turned his back. So I'm seeing his like back haunches that gave it that round domish shape of just the honey, or the golden honey, the red honey around it, and then the brown around the outside. Just kind of didn't really see any leg shape, but it was just mainly his shoulders and head kind of hunched over. So, yeah. I recognize it as like we were passing it and kind of locked on it as we were going, and like didn't stop really, and kind of asked her, did you see that? No, she didn't see it. And I didn't want to draw any attention inside the vehicle. So we just went up, and it was like halfway on that 2nd leg of the V. So we just kept on going up, and
so you passed it 2 times and didn't see anything?
And then on the 3rd time? Tree stump.
Okay, but
so I think,
was this all on the same day? Like
Yeah, like in the matter of like from this little V leg, it took us like 2.5 hours going at like 2 or 3 5 mile an hour on a bumpy road on dirt road, you know.
Yeah.
It was just a logging road at that extent. So yeah, I imagine 25 minutes each way, each direction, 25, another 25, 25, 25, 25.
So what's your take? What's your take on that? Do you think that this individual wanted you to see them?
So at that time, within 24 hours, I remembered a case of abuse in my childhood. So I was all sorts of healing energetically, and possibly why I was very bright or okay to approach in some sense, whatever that case may be, combined with accepting really not caring to pursue them. I mean, again, half the sightings are not when we plan it, they plan it, you know, they're on their terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were raw and real. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, the thing that Brian always talks about is a thought placement. And as you went past that stump, you said that's an interesting stump. Remember, you said that at the beginning. So oh, look at that stump. So
Yeah,
there was a thought placement there to like pay attention to the stump. And
Yeah.
so to me, it was a setup.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, why did you pay attention to that stump? It's obviously a setup. Was there anything specific about that stump that made you
And
like
your girlfriend forgetting her phone? I mean, that's just screams setup.
Yeah. Oh, well, like it was like a sliding down from where we climbed up was like a 6-foot berm of just like rock from the, so like she slid down and it just like popped out of her back pocket, hypothetically. But yeah. Interesting, yeah, though, the stump.
Yeah. So we got a couple.
Yeah, it was like good.
We got a few people here that would probably have some insight into that, like Robin and Arla. You wanna talk on his experience, you girls, or Pat?
I think Bean hit it. I think Bean hit it perfectly. It was all a setup. And what happened after that, you said you had a childhood memory. I mean, that's like their MO. Okay, we're going to set him up and we're going to do this. And how he takes it, and then we're going to go right in and we're going to start helping him access things that he needs to let go of and going to help you grow. I mean, they're the masters at setting us up, and we just walk right into it.
I would tell everybody I'm their puppet. Yeah, they're the puppet masters.
Well, which is funny though, it's a 10-year anniversary though of remembering that one that I suppressed.
Yeah.
Comparatively to one before I left my house. Another instance that happened earlier in my life that I had digested before I left my house, and I got to forgive my father and bring it up to him. Hey, you remember that time you kicked me till I pissed my pants, you know? I mean, whatever. Like before becoming an adult and leaving his house, I got to forgive him for doing that. So like 10 years in the making of that instance of my own working, 10 years later, remembering another instance. Hey, there's another one that you can untie to, you know?
Now they've been listening to you the whole time.
Oh yeah.
You know, they've been around listening and waiting.
Well,
and
I have their orbs. I have a reoccurring dream of like a hematite like colored orb floating towards me in my dreams and coming to me in my day sight. So I think it's been ever since. Yeah. Like child.
They know what you can handle and what you can't. Like they know us better than we know us. Like they know when is going to be the right time for acceptance for you. They know when it's going to be the right time to present you with different things and allow you to have different memories. Like they know better than we do. I can remember telling them, they say, well, you know, we've got things that we need you to do. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready now. Tell me now, you know, like, what is it? And they're like, no, we'll let you know when it's ready. Everything is a progression. Everything is a learning experience.
Yeah, I agree. It's amazing how far they can go into somebody's memory. Like I've said this before, and I'll just briefly say it. There was a lady at my campo, and they zapped her. It was her first significant experience where she had kind of like this kind of experience with them. And they gave her a memory of her first kiss that she received from a boy. You know, that you never forget, that giddy energy kind of feeling. And it was like 50, 60 years in the past. And they gave that to her, that exact memory that she only had once. And she knew instantly when they did it, you know. So, I mean, it's just amazing how well they know us and how far back into the recesses of our memory they can go. And it's like Beans had that experience about I don't want to do it injustice, but you were saying about somebody who knew, or you looked at somebody, or somebody looked at somebody and they knew everything about their life right from the beginning to the end. It's kind of something like that.
That's what the psychics do. It's the Akashic records and we carry our Akashic records in our biofield, and anybody who's sensitive to that frequency can see birth to death, exactly everything that's going on.
Yeah, I went
The
in.
other thing I'd like to say about is this healing thing. I'm sorry, Pat.
Go ahead.
You're up next, Pat. You're up next. Go ahead, Bean.
Okay.
This healing thing is kind of a big deal to remember stuff like forgiving your father, or, you know, I have forgiving your mother for whatever they did, and that stuff just keeps on going for the rest of your life until I've gotten to where I remembered, you know, something that I said rude to somebody when I was like 22 years old, and I go, well, I was stupid. I forgive myself for that. You know, I wish I'd never done that. And the whole point of that clearing out and healing is because of this Akashic that we carry. We carry a story inside of us, and whatever you can clean while you're alive and conscious is something you're not going to have to carry with you into another lifetime. So this is a great time of healing and purging and what do you call it? Sort of like rebirthing, you know. But that's really good stuff. I mean, in terms of what's really going on in our world, that's that clearing stuff. Because you don't want to come back and you know, you're not going to need to come back and have another abusive father in the next lifetime. It's going to be better. You know, that's kind of what it's all about.
Pat?
Well, I was going to say, you're talking about, like, you look at a person, then it's like reading them. So I had that experience. I was at Walmart one time, and I looked at this guy, and basically I saw his life flash in my mind really quickly. It was really, really wild.
Is this like a one-time kind of thing that you experienced that, or is it something you do quite often?
Well, back, you know, when this is long before I was involved in any of this stuff. I would, that would happen. It'd just be sporadic things. And I tell myself, I said, well, hey, it happened again. Then I just, okay, and I just go on and really wouldn't make anything of it. I mean, I was watching a football game, and I told my brother, I said, you know, Ned Bolkar is going to intercept the pass and run it in for a touchdown. And then I saw it in my mind before it happened. And then it happened. And he goes, how the hell did you know that? So then that's pretty wild.
Yeah. I know. I remember listening to the radio one time, a sports talk show and whatever. And I remember I predicted the three topics they were going to talk about before they talked about it. And then I said, I'm quitting now while I'm ahead, because I didn't want to push it. I thought it was pretty cool, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to make it not so, but and I remember another time, one of the really beautiful gifts that they gave me, like a one-time thing, or maybe it's not a one-time thing, but maybe because it was new, I felt it more when it's in it. But I remember being in a grocery store and I saw a mother with her holding her baby, and I felt the mother's love for that child, and it was really profound. It was like a real strong energy, knowing of it was just like, wow. I just picked up on her love for the little baby, and these things are so amazing, and these are things that the Sasquatch and we are all capable of, that are just being awoken. And it is when we get into that heart space, and when we get into that, well, the space that we're all talking about. Yeah.
That same love. I mean, and this is only my theory of it. Anyhow, being that the older brothers that the Lakota Sioux will mention, and again all of history, the love for the Neanderthals and Denisovans, the half-breeds that supposedly, again my theory is that they are our half-breed children. Between Sasquatch and us, we made the Neanderthals and the Denisovans, and those half-breeds that science will acknowledge as far as globally, and also the Chinese communists will acknowledge the Gigantopithecus side of it, just the animal side. We will only acknowledge the, as far as the scientific world, will acknowledge that they're just pre-humans, like pre-us. Like, again, misleading to not connect our same creator that made us, made them. That whole Darwinistic side of history that's still trying to stay intact for the time being. But as far as coming to that knowledge myself in the past year, at least connecting my own dots, and who knows, I might be still wrong in that, but that just seems like a very direct way for science to lie, to just say it's our ancient ancestors came from that, which they're already starting to acknowledge. I mean, in different countries, the same thing. So,
yeah,
that makes sense.
What do you guys say?
No, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you know, we're all connected, and you know, we're coming out of the dark ages. This is the Kali Yuga, which is the darkest of the dark ages, and with the end of Kali Yuga is actually 2025. So that's why everywhere we look now, we see lies and deceptions and half-truths and twisted truths and hidden truths, and on it goes. Every day as they come up with something new. They just found about 5 or 6 different caves in the Grand Canyon, and they have they have things like Indian stuff from India, and they have stuff from
I agree, the disillusion,
Egypt and stuff.
but the vision that I saw was more of the love between the Sasquatch and us human beings, as both the created humans for this world. Our love for each other brought them, and they were also part of the so-called Nephilim or half-breeds that were killed off by some of the floods. In that sense.
And the star people, they're full of love. Those guys, you ever get close to those people, it's like, whoa, there's a big important person there. That's why they call them angels. They go look at this guy and you just feel nothing but love. They go, oh, that must be an angel.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you call the Sasquatch? Earth class? What did you call them, Beans?
Archangel class heart spirits.
Yep.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Just as we are twinned with them, again, the Abraham and Sarah line of twinned sons for Earth in that sense, as far as the many nations.
Yeah. Well, you know, with what's going on, I mean, there's obviously some big evolution or transition or something going on, because so many people are, or maybe people are just becoming more aware of things. but it seems like so many people are being contacted with this knowledge and with this knowing and with this heart connection or whatever. So what's your opinion of you guys? What do you think think's going on? I mean, I could just simply say because it's time, you know, it sounds like a cliche, but it really does encompass the whole answer. But to go into a little more detail, what do you guys say on that? How about you, Arla? Let's start that off. What's going on today?
It is time. We're very close to the time. You know, Kashima told me that it is not the quantity, but the quality of those who are bringing all of this forward that's going to help tip this to where more and more understanding. And I see that so much. I see that in this program. I see that in others, with the Star Nation people, even with Dogmen and so many other things that people call cryptids, who are just other beings, primal beings that we live on this planet with. We are the species that creates the demons. We are the ones that manifest them, and we are the ones that can demanifest them too. So we are very, very close to understanding the quality of people I see now versus 20 years ago is phenomenal.
Hallelujah.
You know, phenomenal. Even
just
within this genre of the Sasquatch. Oh my gosh. Used to, if you looked at the news feed on Facebook, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't do this. We've got all this fear, all this hate, all these things that are coming out now. And the Sasquatch are the head of it, you know. And now it's changed so much for so many things. And I get really excited about it because I know where it's taking us. And I want to be in the space and have the energy for those who are just almost there to just send out that love. It's like a tractor beam, and and just pull them in to the understanding. And I just get excited about it when I think about how awesome this world is becoming.
Yeah, I agree. I see that too. And it's like, again, knowing how powerful we are and that we're not, you know, they whoever they are, or history wants us to think we're powerless, but we're really just the total opposite. And so that's why the change is happening, because we're starting to realize and step into our power, into our light, into our heart, and
sending out that energy to
creating that reality.
Yep. To people who some would say, oh, they don't deserve that. They're horrible. They're whatever. They've done this. They've done that. That doesn't negate that I am to send out loving, healing energy. And anytime I've had a problem with someone or something, I always, when it's time to walk away, and even during the time that I'm there, I want to cover them in love and peace. If you can grasp love and peace, then compassion, joy, all those other things are just right there with it.
I'd like to cover them with worm medicine, anti-worm medicine.
Well, that's a positive. Nobody wants to have
the horse
worms,
is going to be so happy with no parasites.
Even in healing work, whatever, you send the bad or the perceived bad things or the ill things out with love.
Yep. You shower it
And
with
send
love.
it away.
And
You send it
yeah,
away with love. You know,
yeah,
you're not needed anymore. We don't need you, but
no,
go on your way with love. And then you
yeah,
just close a little bubble that Robin told me about, and others
yep,
have told me
yep,
about, and I
yep.
practice and whatever. And that's, it's it's a powerful time that we're going
It
through.
is.
How about you, Robin? You want to talk on that, and Pat, or
Well,
anybody?
I think that what's going on now has to happen. I mean, what goes down will then come up. It's been like that our entire lives throughout history. This all has to happen.
Mhm.
And I think, for years, the Sasquatch people have gone to others and said, tell the truth about us. Let them know that we're not monsters. We're this or this or this. And there's thousands of people they've gone to. And people have done that, myself and Pat included. But it was never enough. And I think now we're seeing more and more, not only the Sasquatch coming forward, but the other cryptids as well. And it's like it's taking them and us to get people to realize of that connection that we have, of being together, of working together, of becoming together, of the love, of all of that. And it didn't work when they just wanted us to come forward on their behalf. It was shunned, it was ridiculed, it was shot down. And now I get contacted daily, multiple times a day, from people going, oh my gosh, I'm having all these sightings, like there's all this activity and what is going on? Because it takes both sides to get this message across. It doesn't work when it just comes from them. It doesn't work when it just comes from us. It takes both sides to move forward. Things are going to get really bad. But in that really bad is going to come that regrowth and that rebirth, and people to have a better understanding, because some people, not everybody, but some people have to hit that rock bottom to be able to get that appreciation and refine that love and that consciousness and that collective in order to work together. Because for a long time, our people went to each of his own. That never works. It's never going to work. Where the Sasquatch and the other cryptids, they work as a full collective with each other. And now that time is happening. And I think that has a lot of reasons as to why we're seeing more activity from the ETs now. We're seeing more activity from the cryptids now. And it's all part of that grand design of it's going to hit rock bottom to be able to rebuild it to the level that we need it at. And for us to realize we have to rely on each other. We cannot do this entire planet by ourselves as individuals. We have to rely on each other. And the only way that's going to happen is if it goes down into these darker times, and then it comes back up.
Yeah, that's why you have to look at it as an exciting time and not look at it from a state of fear, because there really is nothing to fear. It's just the inevitable transition.
Well, and the amount of cryptids that are showing themselves, like we've got cryptids running around here right now. We don't even know what the heck they are. The ETs are dropping off more cryptids. The ETs, by the way, warned us a few years ago that they were going to do this. This is not like it wasn't something that wasn't on the radar. They had already said more cryptids are coming. This is what we're doing. And like I think I told you the last time I was on, we've got this one huge one that's running around here. I don't know what he is. It looks like a cross from an elk and a rabbit and a kangaroo mixed. I don't know what he is. I mean, I know it cloaks. I know it can be in full form, and appears to be very passive. It's never tried to hurt anybody. Like everything else, it's all existing. But I think, people are shocked that as many of the forest people are coming out as they are, but it's a necessity now. People aren't just listening to our type of humans going out there and talking and saying, this is what's going on. And it's taking both sides to be able to get those messages across.
Yeah.
In my opinion, for what it's worth.
Well, and that's what they've been trying to get us to do.
Oh, they have
for a long, way before this lifetime of mine.
Yeah, definitely.
They've been, and some can do it. And, like I said, there are so many that they're coming to now. Some are going to be able to do this and some people won't. And that's just how it is. But it's even more important for those of us who can speak out to
Yeah, I
speak.
agree.
And that gives other people the courage. Well, they spoke out about this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And I got to the
that's
point, like the first 40 years, I was quiet about it. And I didn't really say a whole lot other than to a few people that were always around me that saw the same things I was seeing and saw me interacting with them. And I think I just got to the point where it was, I just don't care what people think anymore. If they think badly of me, life is going to go on. It is what it is. And I was asked by the forest people to come forward. And that's what I've done. And that's what Pat's done. But, it's not a one person thing. Again, it takes a million of us.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I've always kind of had a thick skin that I never really did care what anybody thought. You know that about me, right, Ma?
Yeah,
I said exactly what I thought right from the beginning. And but I got that from you.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody I can't change the truth.
Well, I don't know about that. I think I had it in me, but you definitely helped me with it. But my point is that I think it is important for people who don't want to talk about this stuff and these beautiful messages just because they think people will ridicule them and say they're crazy or whatever. You got to get over that. You got to start spreading this.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what people think because
and that's why we're here. That's why we're here, to just help them to have the strength. That's what is giving people that support to feel like, okay, somebody is not making fun of me and I need to talk about this. And that's a big deal.
Pat works with people too, and he gets the same thing. And like, even when he's at work, like for different conferences, like we've got a conference this weekend and we've got one later on in April, and we'll get ready to leave. He'll take time off from work and we're like, well, where are you going? And he'll try to talk to him about it. And it's always hit or miss. But I look at it this way, whether it's hit or miss, at least we're doing our job. What people do with the information presented is theirs.
That's right.
Because it's their free will. At least we know when we lay our heads down on our pillow at night that we did what we should do, and we're still true and we're still honest.
Yeah.
And we're trying to help not only our people, but the forest people. And I think, like, for myself, that's what it just doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt. I'm human, but I don't let it break my spirit or my soul.
Mm-mm. It's a collective effort. What the Bigfoot call it is building a bridge. So these shows, people going out, talking with other people, Arla, Robin, all of us on the show, we are actually building a bridge to the Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's what they've told Pat and I for years. We're building bridges, and it's not a physical bridge, it's an emotional bridge, so that we can all meet in the middle of the bridge and come together.
Yep. Oh, it'll be a physical bridge eventually.
Yeah.
Just not there yet.
No, it's it's more of
however, to speak in truth of it is already there by us.
It's there for me every breath I take. If I'll have to do is just put my mind on it, and it's like, oh, there's my heart. Oh, there's a Sasquatch. I know. Oh, okay, it's right there. Yeah. That's the bridge. Is in the heart.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and people are, and I've been very fortunate. I mean, I have people that come after me, of course, we all do, but it's not as bad as I think. I always tell myself it's not as bad as it could be, but the thing of it is I refuse to lie about it. I'm not going to lie about it to make it easier for people. I may put it in a different terminology or break it down gently, depending on where that person is at. But I'm not going to lie about it. I never have. I'm never going to.
Yeah.
I can't change the truth. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the truth anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't be afraid to speak your truth. I mean, with the things that they share with us and the love that they give us and whatever, it's the least that we can do is to represent them honestly and not water anything down or whatever. Like I'm way past what anyone, I never really did care what anyone thought. Let me tell you the truth, but I just really don't care.
Anyway.
I just don't care. I mean, like, and I don't want to mention names, Robin, or whatever, but like, or Pat, well, let's not mention any names of any individuals.
Right. We know.
Because that's putting bad energy out there too. But Randy Brisson and I, for instance, there's apparently 2 or 3 Facebook groups that are just talking about that we're hoaxers and just trying to discredit us and whatever. And you know what? I haven't even gone and looked at them, and I don't care. I don't care.
Like me,
if it makes you happy, I'm happy for you, but it doesn't change anything.
But you know what?
I really couldn't care less.
I look at it that I avoid all that. When that negativity about me is out there, I go the other way. I'm not going to sit there. I refuse to fight with anybody over it. And I refuse to get involved in that. But I look at it and I'm like, I kind of, to the point where I feel bad for these people, because I'm like, all right, this is where you're at now, but yet you're not getting experiences and I'm getting them daily. So who's the one that's really the bigger issue? And I just kind of,
and you're you're terrified of your experiences, and we love our experiences.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel grateful for every experience I have with them every day. Yeah. And it's like, if the only way I can continue to have that relationship that I have with them is to deal with the haters and the doubters and all of that, I'm okay with that. And they're going to come to the truth in their own time. I can't force it on them. I don't want to, but their time will come. You know, when I came back from Russia, from the conference years ago, and there was a certain person there that was just attacking me right and left. And I had gotten contacted by Animal Planet because he had made a statement to them concerning me. And they're like, oh, we want your reply. And I said, I'm going to give you a reply, but if you publish this, because I'm not going to join into the fight. So if you publish this, I will have a lawyer contacting you. But what I will say to you is this: while he's saying all these things and I'm a liar and I'm a hoaxer, he's not seen one yet, and I see them daily. So if that means, you know, I'm fine. I feel bad for him. I feel pity for him that this is the only way he thinks he's going to get these experiences, because until he clears his heart and until he clears his mind, he's not going to. When he gets to that point, he will also have those experiences.
And here's another key point about it too, is that, you know, like I was saying with Arla, and we were saying, it's not just a cure-all. You have to work to stay in this energy and this heart space. So as soon as you draw yourself into that judgment and that negativity or whatever, you're just taking yourself out of that. And so it's really somewhere that you really just can't go. You just have to accept them for who they are and just send them love. And like Arla said, and
I just that when they're ready, they will have what we have. And I say we as all of us, because we're all in this together and we're all sharing experiences.
Well, so people need to get fed up with just being like, I listen to this guy, Steve Isdall, right, on the How to Hunt thing, and I've been listening to him for like a couple of years now, and like 90% of the stories is the same damn story. I'm terrified. I got scared, and they made me. It's like, yeah, okay, so now there's 100 of those stories, of 500. After you get for like 600 or 700 of those stories, it's just, I don't care anymore, you know what I mean? Because I know that's not where it's at. I'm afraid, and it looked at me, and you know, all that kind of stuff. Threw a rock at me.
And I'm a follower of his too. And his point of it is that, like, and he's a hunter. So if his mindset again is, I know you're here. Don't mess with me. I won't mess with you. So that's his mindset. So he is curbing that energetic from the Sasquatch in my mind, and therefore possibly doing it with emails. I'm not going to say that he does it all. He does an excellent job of reading it. I'm not going to say accuse it that he does, but that as far as his wall with the Sasquatch, he doesn't encounter the way that we do.
He doesn't ask for people. He says, I'm just going to share. Well, that's fine, but you need to ask the people who are friends with the Sasquatch, or like Sunbo did, you know. Sunbo got up out of his house and went into every single Indian nation that he could go to. He spent 30 years doing that, face to face with the shamans, and ask them about the Sasquatch people. That's who's got the knowledge.
Yeah, he's got a very few that actually have very knowledge, but I mean, the majority, yeah, it's just general people like.
I get people all the time that will contact me and say, I have PTSD. I'm terrified that I had the most aggressive encounter. I can't sleep at night. And I'm like, okay, let's break this down. Okay. Did you get physically touched? No. Did they physically harm you? No. Were you zapped? And if they say yes, they got zapped, I'll say, okay, what were your actions prior to? Because a lot of it, they automatically, because they look different, they automatically are fearful and they automatically assume the worst without even giving the possibility that anything good is happening from it. I've had people contact me and I've reached out to speak with the Sasquatch involved, and they're like, no, there was a bear. I was trying to get them out of the area. You know, they were going to be lunch, you know, or their children are nearby. And, you know, it's like I get people will contact me and like, it was yelling and screaming and waving its hands in the air. And I'm like, okay, in the military, waving the hands in the air is surrender. So how is that being physically aggressive to you? It's trying to get you to understand you're now going into an area that they would prefer you not be in.
Yeah.
You know, you've missed the subtle signs along the way. This isn't being harmful. There's a reason that they're doing this. It's not necessarily always coming from a bad place.
It's
and a
as
lot of
simple.
times,
It's as simple as misunderstanding their
exactly.
nature. That's all it is, and that's where the fear sets in when you misunderstand what's going
And a
on.
lot of times, if I break it down for them and I explain it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I feel so much better now."
Yeah.
Now I understand where that was coming from, and then they're not fearful anymore. You know, or
And this is
what
definitely
it
more
meant.
of a non-fearful group as far as I've seen or been a part of and watching, you know. So that's why
Well, we
I'm here.
fear pretty much anything we don't understand,
Absolutely.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So why not misunderstand something that's tall, loud, and kind of looks like us, but really doesn't? You know, what are you
Like,
going to do? Or you're going to see a dog man, or you're going to see anything. And
right
it
now, I'm
won't
here
look
not getting
like
back to
them.
work. So anyhow, I'm gonna cut out and run, guys. Though.
Hey, thanks,
It's so great
Bill.
to see you.
Thanks, Bill, for stopping in, sharing your experience.
Oh, yeah.
and contributing.
I love you guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
love you, man.
Have a good one.
Take care. Have a good day at work.
But I think too, I get a lot of people that actually thank me afterwards because it is a misunderstanding, and their words don't necessarily, the Sasquatch words don't exactly, you know, they don't always mesh with what our meaning for their words are. So there is that cultural difference. And if you don't know it, in defense for the people that misunderstand, I can see why they misinterpret. I can see why they misunderstand it. So when you go and explain it, what I don't agree with is the hate. When they automatically have the hate going towards them, it's like, okay, you don't understand it. But if you were to go to a foreign country and they're speaking a different language that you don't understand, you're not going to automatically turn to hate and fear. You're going to go to someone and say, can you explain to me what they said or what they're doing? But yet when it comes to the cryptids, we don't allow that. And I have a big problem with that. So it's all about understanding. It's all about learning. That's why it's so important for all the millions and thousands of people that have that contact to share experiences so they can learn.
Yeah.
I think that was the very thing in the beginning, years and years and years ago, when I came into this. That was the major thing that we dealt with, was the fact that people just misunderstood. I was lucky. I've never misunderstood fear of anything, period. So I've never carried fear to begin with. And like you, Robin, there are so many cryptids out there.
Oh
I
my
know
God.
I was in Kentucky several years ago, and we were in the Daniel Boone Forest after dark hiking. And there were some cryptids there that I was just fascinated with. I hadn't seen them
Yeah,
And
McCAY.
there wasn't, anything negative coming from them. They
No,
were
most of us
doing
are
what
innocent.
it is they do, living their lives the way they choose to live their lives. And if we can get past that and accept that things are going to be different than
Yeah.
we are,
And
you know.
then when years ago I asked them, they had shown me images in my head of various cryptids that I had never heard of before, never seen. I said, okay, what are they called? And I was told by one of the ones that I'm extremely close to, he said, our people call them the McCAY. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, ye that walks the earth that has no name. And he said, these are various cryptids that whether it's come from star people, whether it's come from government or whatever, they're here. They don't have a name. So that's like the blanket term that they would call all of them, if that makes any sense, rather than just say, we don't know what this one is with this on it, or that they just have that blanket term of the McCAY. And they would show me various cryptids. And eventually it would always be like a few years later, and somebody I would run across that would send me a drawing of one and say, I don't know what this thing is. This is what I saw. And I'm like, yeah, the McCAY. And it would be exactly the image that they had given me.
Yep.
As they would give me the image, I would draw it out on paper and hang on to it. And they would say, you will run across this. You will see this. And it always panned out. I mean, always.
They are magnificent looking, is all I can say.
The eyes.
I have ever seen in my lifetime, which has been many, many, many. They are magnificent looking to
The
me.
eyes are what get me. You can look in
Yeah.
those eyes and you'll never get to the bottom of the depth of those eyes. It goes right to their soul. And it's mesmerizing. It truly is. And it just like consumes you when you look in them. And you feel nothing but love when you look in them.
hmm
I think it's unfortunate that people are actually getting PhD from this stuff, or PTH, or whatever they call it.
Oh, PTSD. Well,
PTSD, yeah. You want to know what I did the first 2 or 3 weeks when I realized that the Sasquatch has accepted me as a friend, and I was hearing on the YouTube and stuff about people getting PTSD and post-traumatic stress disorder and all these things, and which is like what 99% of everything out there is. They're monsters and all this. What I did is I just kind of just went in my room and I called the Sasquatch to me, and I said, "Okay, let's fight." And then I had a fist fight with the Sasquatch, and if I lost, I would get bigger and get a big stick, and then the next time I wouldn't lose, and if that I lost the second time, I'd get bigger and bigger, and then I fought with them. Maybe 4, 5, 6 times I fought with the Sasquatch people, right? And then you know what I did after we fought and rest and all that kind of stuff? I played hide and seek, and then I played tag with them a couple times, right?
well,
Because look, first of all, this PTSD is totally in your imagination, and it means that you're going to fail, you can't fight, you can't flight, and you're like, what do you do? So you have to work that out in your imagination. You go ahead and fight them in your imagination and fight them. Make sure that you win, because it's just imaginary. Make sure there's an imaginary scene of you winning, and then later on becoming friends, and that solves right there all the PTSD and the fear mongering and all this kind of stuff that's going on. It's all imaginal, right? Unless the
but I think,
Sasquatch broke your arm or something like that.
well, the thing too I found with people that when they come to me and they're frightened because of an encounter. Number one, I acknowledge that they're fearful because it's something new. It's something they weren't aware was even existing, and it just happened. But then when you break it down for them and give them an explanation for the behaviors and where they're coming from and things, my experience has been most people get a complete change of perception, and they're much calmer. They seem more ready to learn and understand.
It's
And all those
education.
that's
But
what it comes down to.
that's basically the same thing. You're just talking them through the
Well, it's like Pat.
the fear image that they have in their head. Once you break it apart, then it falls apart. But even so, we came here to fight. It's a good thing for every human being to know how to fight and to live as a dangerous people. There's no mistake that the Indians used to have war dances, and and they knew about war, and they had warriors, and they valued the warrior spirit, and we have sadly lost that. We don't even protest the price of gas anymore.
Well, I think like with Pat, he goes out and he's mowing the lawn. Okay. And he goes in the back, and our back is like this little alcove surrounded by woods. And most people, they react by when they look at them because they look so vastly, I mean, they look like they're shaped like a human, but they don't necessarily look, I mean, some of them look more human than others, and they're covered with hair, and they go by the appearance, and that's what they react to. Pat goes out and he mows the lawn or whatever, and they call his name from the woods, and he sees him back there, whatever. He just continues about his business. He's not freaked out. He's not panicked. They're living their life. We're living ours. And I think that's why it works so well for us. They're doing their thing out there. Pat and I are doing our thing here. And we just kind of blend in that submersion with them. They show respect for us most of the time, and we respect them. It's like, and I think I talked about this the last time I was on the show, the baby that was in the front yard. He's just sitting at the end of the driveway, looking around, looking into the woods at the doe that was grazing over there. And the mom and dad are trying to get him to go up to the deer, and he's just sitting at the end of the driveway. They were worried that their child was going to get hurt. None of them seem to be worried here. They're walking around the backyard. Kids are running back and forth. I mean, they don't, because we don't show fear to them and they don't show fear to us.
Well, we're neighbors.
Yeah, it's a neighbor territory.
And that's the thing. For one of the first things my grandmother taught me when I was just little was there are neighbors. And that's how, as a good neighbor, you live your life and they live theirs, and sometimes talk to your neighbors and sometimes you don't talk to your neighbors.
Yep. We had
one. So that's getting past that. Oh my gosh, they're there. Well, yeah, they're there. They're there whether people know they're there or not.
I know. I had to break the news to my neighbor, but we had one that when we first moved here, and I had left to go do something, and as I went to the end of the driveway, they said, help me, help me. And I said, okay, who are you? What are you? And where are you? And I could feel it was an energy that was of a forest person. And it was down by our swamp. So I went down that way, and there were guys down there with guns shooting into the swamp towards where it was at the back. And of course, if you stop and ask them about it, then they know, and then they follow you. So I told him to go back to the house. I said, Pat's there. He's never going to let anybody near you. And so he did. He went right back to the house, and Pat was home all day. So he kept an eye on things. And I think he stayed, didn't he, babe, for like 3 weeks before he finally left?
I think, yeah. Frozen.
You are? You're not frozen?
Who's frozen?
Yeah,
No,
for a
nobody's
minute.
frozen.
Okay, it looked like it.
Oh.
They remember the time when I'm coming in the house and he announced himself by the side of the garage. He said his name.
Yeah.
And then I came out again, somebody was on the other side of the house. It's like that. We don't, and she's right, we don't fear them and they don't fear us. I mean, I hate, they come inside our house. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been in our pantry looking for food and stuff like that. They come out to they'll come out to where the cats are. They'll take all the food. I mean, usually when they'll leave crumbs and stuff like that. There isn't any food they've left in the bowl. They'll come in. We had a whole thing of pig pellets the night before, woke up and it was almost gone. I don't know how they do it, whether they have a vacuum cleaner and
oh no,
sucking the stuff out, not leaving it drown. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I mean, usually you find one on the floor. There's nothing.
Right now we're having a big problem with them taking the canned dog food. We've only got one dog.
Canned dog food.
Yeah. They let up on the mini pig pellets and the dog food when I said, I don't care if we share, but leave enough for the other so that I can feed my animals, because they're like my children. And so they backed off considerably, and now it's at a, it's kind of at a low scale as far as I'm taking that. But now all the canned dog food is gone. And I do not like canned dog food in any way, shape, or form for my animals, but I have one that is Pat's dog that he spoils rotten. And she will not eat anything. Yeah. She will not eat anything that doesn't have a certain canned dog food. And she's really picky about that too. And so we buy it to mix in for hers. And every time I turn around, 5 or 6 cans are gone. And nobody else uses it. They're just gone. There's a lot of muddy footprints left, but the cans themselves are gone.
Handprints on the refrigerator when we first moved in.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All over.
Yeah, all over the windows. And our front door has glass panels around it. So if you're in the living room, you can see them come up on the porch. And I have big bowls of cat food out there for the possums and the feral cats. And you can see them come up there through the glass doors they take it too.
Check this out. So we are behind the garage the other day, and there's a trail, and you could see it. It goes from behind the garage in front of the house underneath the windows, and something sits down underneath our bedroom window.
On the other side of the porch, they sat down on the bush and just leveled it.
Yeah.
And then they took their finger and put it in the corner of the screen and pulled it back so they could tap on the window easier.
So I was going to ask, and you don't have to name names, because probably a lot of the stuff is personal and people don't want you to share their names so much. But can maybe you and Arla or Pat talk to somebody that you for instance, Robin said that you have talked to people who were scared of the initial experience, and then when you explain it to them, then they change their perspective. Can you talk? You guys talk about somebody maybe who was of that mindset that turned into having a really, really great relationship with them?
I think not the best one, but I think one that it would be safe to name his name, and I adore him. On Facebook he goes under Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And Rob is just a wonderful, wonderful person. He has his own show.
He's watching right now. He's watching. Actually,
I love Rob. Rob is the best. And he had an encounter that I think my interpretation of it, and I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, Rob, I'm sorry. I apologize. And it was frightening for him. And when him and I met, and we met through Duke Sullivan of World Bigfoot Radio, and who is just like a brother to me. And when Rob and I talked, and I was able to connect with that particular Sasquatch and talk to him and then share with what he was saying for Rob, because it was information. I mean, I'm just the conduit. It was information he wanted Rob to know. And so I was able to do that. And afterwards, when I talked to Rob, he did say that he got a lot of peace from that conversation and getting that information from the Sasquatch. And I think, that's, to me, that's what makes me happy. That's my happy place. Because it's connect, and he's really good with them. They love him. He's a great researcher. He's got a phenomenal show out, and just an all-round good human being. And they know that they can feel his heart, they can feel his energy, and he's just a great guy. Like, I consider him a good friend, and that to me really made my day, because it wasn't anything I did. I was getting the information from that forest person that he wanted Rob to know. And it was a perfect example about when you can explain it to them, then it makes a difference to people. Like, I don't want to share Rob's story because that's personal and that's his. That's something that only he should share. But in that case, I felt like it did give him some peace of mind and more of an understanding of them. And I think, that's only going to help him in his endeavors and in his research.
Wow. Actually, I was thinking of having him on the show. So if you
should, I would.
If you're listening to Rob, we'd like to have you on the show. And if you want to make your show the best in the world, you can have me and Mr. Beans on yours.
Rob's show is fun. I've done.
Well, we had him on the show. We had him on the show, didn't we?
No, we didn't. Not big. No.
No, he's out of Michigan.
No, we haven't, Beans.
Wonderful person. The Sasquatch really like him. I think he's a really good researcher. He's incredible with people, and his show has great information on it. It's on YouTube. And so, I mean, he's one I would recommend, you know, and people just need those understanding moments where there is that miscommunication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely want to have him on the show. So I'm going to reach out to him after the show. How about you, Arla? Miss Cobbler?
It's that thing that I can't even begin to say how many that I've worked with over the years. And even before I came on to where anybody would know who I was as far as being in the public, before I was ever on Facebook or anything else, there were people that were afraid. One of them, I'm not going to use his name. I'm sure he wouldn't care, but I'm not going to do that.
Fine.
He is Ponca Kiowa. And he had been taught that they were a dark energy and that he shouldn't have anything to do with them. And he was having all of these encounters with them coming in his dreams. He went to the Grand Canyon. They were there. He was in southern Arizona somewhere. They were there. And they were connecting with him. And in the beginning, he was freaked out because he had been told they were a dark energy. And so a friend had heard me at one of our International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers gathering. We had one of the grandmothers there for the weekend, and she had heard me talk. And she called me and she said, I've got this friend and he's scared to death. He doesn't know what's going on. Would you talk to him? And I told her, well, yeah, but I said, no, I can't see any Ponca Kiowa male asking this woman for her information. And she kind of laughed and she said, oh, I think he will. So she told me what his phone number was so that I would know it when he called. And so I hung up and I was like, I don't think he'll ever call me. And I really, this is something that I feel like I really need to do. Well, it was like later that day that he called. And we started working with each other at that time. And I went up to where he lived a few times and we went out in the woods and he began to understand more and more that they weren't a dark energy, that they were bringing light energy back to us. They were bringing us medicine ways. They were bringing us how to live a good physical life. They were bringing us so many things that there was no way this could be. And for me, that felt really good. And I told him one time, I said, I hadn't made up my mind if I was even going to answer the phone when you call, because some traditional males are hard to work with. And so I just said, I didn't know if I'd answer the phone or not. And he kind of laughed and he said, well, if you hadn't, I'd have been on your doorstep. And so it was not one of the first times I had really worked with anyone, but one of my most enjoyable, because I got to see a transformation from someone who thought he was being bombarded by a dark energy, find out that this was really a light energy. And I asked him a question one time. I said, how many generations do you think it takes to change the story? And he thought about it. I said, it only takes 2. It takes that first generation to start talking about something in a negative way, telling you, you can't believe this, this is not right, this is evil, you have to stay away from that. That generation that they were told that then begins to share that energy as well. And so everything has changed in those two generations. And so it doesn't take a long time to change a thought process and a belief. And I think that's the times that we're in now. It's really, really changing.
Yeah. And that's the reason why you do it, and why we why we all,
Yep.
excuse my frog in my throat, reach out. That's great. Anything else anybody wanted to talk about specifically? Or should we think about winding her down?
Yeah.
And we've been on.
Wind down's good. I don't, it's better than being wound up.
Yeah.
Robin was talking,
we don't want
but
the
she's muted.
Yeah, we don't want that handsomest man to overdo now.
No, he doesn't need much beauty rest. I mean, if he got
I mean, naps. I love my naps. I take naps.
I thought a while ago when he was shining that light on him, I was going to be blinded by the beauty.
if he had a regular sleep like the rest of us, he'd be unbearable to look at. The beauty would be just too much. Robin, you're talking, but you're muted.
Everybody has their little burdens.
Oh, I said we're going to lose Pat pretty soon. He's been up since 4 o'clock.
Yeah, he looks a little fatigued.
He's exhausted. He's been working all day.
Well,
Pat,
thank you guys for coming on. Anything?
Pat didn't even get a chance to say anything.
I know,
Sure
Pat. Let's tell one more thing from you.
Say something. Say something cute, Pat. Say something cute. Say something cute.
Where is he? I can't even see him.
I could see him, but his mic's turned off.
Oh, what do you want me to say?
Something cute.
Tell us the story.
Story
Before
about
we go.
Sasquatch. Story about
I got lots of those.
Well, tell them about the one the other night that gassed us out of the bedroom. Remember that?
Yeah, we were in bed, right?
Terrible.
And as I told you, they've got the trail that comes right in front of the house, the step, and it goes right to our bedroom. And we're in bed, and then we smelled this. I mean, my goodness. It was kind of wet doggish, but with a swamp tint to it. And we were just, Robin goes, what the heck was that? And it just kept coming and going. She would mention it, and then it would go away. It's like they were turning the stink off or something.
And 20 minutes later, the whole room was just asphyxiated.
Yeah.
Most of them don't smell bad like that. I mean, really.
No. I mean, most of them, we're by a swamp, so I figure, they're kind of going in the swamp down there, and you roll around that stuff, and you're gonna stink.
Yeah, they did.
They can turn that smell off and on, though. I think.
Yep, they can.
It was funny because Pat kept blaming the dogs, and I'm like, all the dogs are sound asleep. No butts are facing us. This is not the dog, okay?
I mean, I was in Michigan, and one of ours, he would, I swear he was in the back of the car, or somehow it spirit or something. I told Robin, I said, it wasn't a bad smell. It was a clean dirt smell. I mean, he didn't smell at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was in Michigan with us, and he's now in South Carolina with us. We've actually seen him. So, and there's him, and there's a couple other ones that came with them, and we've got photos of them in the backyard. So it's kind of cool.
So
like
can I ask you?
Go ahead.
Can I ask you a personal question there, Robin?
Sure.
So has Pat ever like pass gas and blame the dog or a Sasquatch on it?
Oh, they all blame each other. Are you kidding me? They blame it on the Sasquatch, and the Sasquatch are like, it wasn't
How
us.
dare you?
I'm like packing
It was
blankets
him.
around Pat, packing
He's
blankets
outside
on
the
the dog,
window.
blankets on the window, and Robin gets asphyxiated, okay?
No, she told me a story one day. I'm sleeping, I'm like snoring, and she tries to wake me up. And she tries to wake me up, and I wouldn't wake up. Then I roll over, and then the gas starts, and she says she put a cork in it with a blanket.
Yeah, I did. I packed this room real
She was
good.
trying to explain it to me, and she was laughing. It's real cute. She's laughing.
You put a cork in it. Where did you put the cork?
I didn't cork him. I took a padded blanket and wrapped his butt in it. And then when I got him taken care of, you could hear outside of the window where the Sasquatch were walking back and forth. And then the smell started coming in from them. And I'm like, for the love of God, I've got to get a break somewhere. It's both of them combined. I'm like, I'm under my blanket trying to breathe. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, that just talks about their amazing sense of humor. Like, oh my God.
They're crack up. They think they're the funniest thing on the planet.
Well, I think they are too.
Yeah, I do too. That Blue, when Jonathan was here one summer, we were sitting outside the cabin, and Blue and baby girl and some of them were off a little ways playing, and Blue decided he was going to have fun. So he would let the smell go, and it was just like a cloud, and you couldn't breathe. And we would say, "Stop, please stop." Well, he would stop, and immediately it would be gone. We'd be talking away, and he'd do it again. So for probably 30 minutes, we were like saying, "Blue, stop. We know you can do this. Stop. You're dagging us." But I thought, how many teenage kids do the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
But on the other standpoint, they can bring we're at a restaurant, and we smelled coconuts. It was from remember?
Yep.
And then floral scents, and
they just like to play jokes. I mean, last summer, like our backyard is fenced in, over half of it is. So there's like a half acre fenced in, so the dogs have plenty of room to run and they're safe, because I don't let my dogs run loose. And there's a hose back there. And last year, every time, first of all, those the whole, those boxes, those cases you roll them up in, they've gone through 2 of those because they like to crank it, but they crank it until they bust it. So then we got rid of that, and there was just the hose. And I went out there, and there was water all over the ground, and the dogs are rolling in the puddle. And I'm like, oh no, we're not doing this. So I turned the hose off. I brought the dogs inside. There was no water going through the hose. It wasn't on. I look out there, and it was like somebody picked up the hose and sprayed it up on the deck. And all you can see is this giant arch of water coming down and landing in front of the door. Like they were shooting it up in the air from the end of the hose. And I'm like, there's nobody out there. I open the door, and the hose gets dropped, and you can hear somebody running through the woods. I'm like, oh, good God.
The garage door.
Yeah, they go in the garage door. They took it from the outside of the garage.
They destroyed it.
Yeah, they destroyed the door. It's a 2.5 car garage door, but it's one piece. And they pushed it in at the bottom, and it bent the track, and it broke the wheels right off of it. They pushed so hard. And we had kennels in there too. The mini pigs were in there, and the dogs were in there. They're not anymore. The dogs are in the house.
He wanted to see Freya. That's what he said.
I know, they love
the white dog.
And they went in there, and they unlocked all the kennels. I got up in the morning, and it was like a freak show out there. Yeah. All the animals are running around. Everybody's having a ball.
Every cage was open.
Every single one. They're all running around together. The whole garage was destroyed. And then all you hear is laughing in the background.
The pigs the other day, you chained it.
You went out. Their pen was locked.
They escaped inside the garage.
Yeah, the chain was undone. The lock was undone on their pen. and they're having a field day. We put a camera out there, and the camera worked perfectly. And then all of a sudden it would start blanking out time spans where nothing would record on it. And every time it would blank out like that, all the animals would get loose during that blanked out time span. I'm like, okay, I got you now.
Have they ever taken any?
Go ahead.
Have they ever taken, they did this with my dog twice. Took them and played with them and then brought them back. Did they ever take your animals out into the woods or lower them and then bring them back?
5 days. I watched this cat walk into a portal and disappear. And 5 days later, they shoved it back out of it. Years ago, they did. I watched it. Years ago.
Forest, remember?
Yeah. Dorian Forest.
They're gone.
But when Forrest got outside is when I saw him go into the portal. He looked at me
by the garage, right?
Yeah. He looked at me, then walked into the portal and vanished in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
But they took Chloe, my daughter's little Shih Tzu, years ago, and she was just a baby. They took her in the woods, and she was, little to the ground. And then all of a sudden you hear her yelp, and she's whining, and she's like 9 feet off the ground. And you hear her moving and whining and barking as they're running with her through the woods. So I jumped in the truck, drove to the end of the driveway because it was quite a ways down the driveway. And I'm like, so help me, Anna, if you take her dog, I'm going to be so mad. I get to the end of the driveway. They're not there. I turned around, I come back, and one of the males that I'm real close with, he was putting her down on the porch when I pulled up to the house.
Okay.
Well, they love the white animals.
Yeah,
so Ray is white, and they key on that, and they call her name Freya, and she goes up to the fence over there, and she wags her tail like something's there. There's nothing there, but
yeah, my dogs did too. My dogs used to stop right in the middle of the trail and wag their tails, and they brought
her a 2x4. Okay, every day I walk around that pen to make sure there's no snakes, there's nothing in there they can't have. I did that. I went in that house, and like 15 minutes later, I look in the backyard, and she's trotting around the backyard with a 2x4. Or they steal the neighbor's shoes and they put them on the back of their porch or whatever, and they toss the shoes in for the dogs to play with.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Arla had to go. I guess she had a storm or something coming on.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of a myth. I mean, well, maybe not a myth. I mean, some people's experiences are different, but when people say that they're mean to or want to kill your dogs or whatever, that's not necessarily the case. As a matter of fact, predominantly not the case.
No, I usually go whenever we have moved. I go out there, I talk to them, I tell them, you know what, I don't hurt your children, I don't hurt your pets, because they use all the animals in the woods as pets. And I'm like, so I don't want you to hurt my children or my pets. My animals are like my children, and I have never once had them ever bother any of them.
Especially Forrest.
Yeah, they love Forrest the cat. Forrest,
you guys want
in the Pyrenees.
He purposely escapes all the time to come out and
hang out with them. He comes home with muddy handprints all on him and smelling, and it's a mess.
That's sweet. Anything you guys wanted to close with? Anything you want to say about the Sasquatch or just closing remarks or whatever?
There needs to be a greater understanding of them to fully understand, and we've talked about this before. I think they're predominantly good, loving, caring people. I know that as a fact, but they are a people, and there always are, we have people in our world that aren't always as nice either, but they're predominantly good, and they're loving, and they're nurturing, and they care. But our people don't know enough about them. And that's where the education comes in. And I think we're all taught different things for a reason, so that we're forced to come together to get the truth, to be able to share with other people. Pat learns things I don't. You learn things I don't. But then I'll learn things that maybe you or Pat or Mike don't know. And it forces us to have to work together with each other, which is what we need. And then that way we can present what we know to people, so that there's more people that can learn. And every circumstance is different. People cannot pigeonhole it and put it in a box and say, across the board, this is how it is, because that's not it. Every individual is different. Every experience is different. Every situation is different. So you have to take what you learn. And unfortunately, it's not as easy as people want it to be, because there's all these variables in it. But you can take a little bit of what everybody out there experiences and learns, so that we have a deeper understanding on how to share this world with them. They're not trying to do this dominant takeover. They want to share the planet. They want to live their lives, and they're entitled to.
Yeah, I agree. You get the floor, Pat. You get the last word.
Communication is the key. I mean, how are we supposed to understand the Bigfoot if we don't communicate with them? Exactly. I mean, really, I mean, it's the same thing with me and you guys. We communicate. Now, the misunderstandings occur when there's no communication. And that's where all of us come in to help that communication gap.
Yeah, that's just not man and Sasquatch. That's man and any. When there's no communication, there's misunderstanding, fear, all these things.
Sense, but I'm just saying.
But if we want to communicate and learn, Pat's 100% right. But in order to do that, we also have to open our minds and our hearts to be able to accept the knowledge that we're given.
Yeah.
I really like what you said there, Pat and Robin. I mean, it's always such a nice thing when you guys come on, because you are communicators, you're animal communicators, you're interspecies communicators. You have loads and loads of experience. You're one of the few people who has almost daily contact and is really living alongside the Sasquatch people. So thanks for showing up and adding your energy. It's always nice. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Well, we love coming on here.
Thanks for having us.
Did you guys enjoy the show? It was kind of fun having a couple other people on to contribute, right?
I love it. Yeah. Had a great time. We love doing your show.
Well, I got a feeling it's not going to be the last time.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure. And you had asked me the last time about coming to your camp. I would dearly love to. But I wasn't at liberty to share the news at that time, Brian. But
September.
The reason that we unfortunately cannot attend is we have a beautiful new grandbaby that will be born at the same time.
Well, that takes precedent over that. Well, maybe let's pull for next year then.
Oh, definitely. We would love to come. And I wasn't at that point, they weren't ready to kind of release all the information out yet. They wanted to make sure everything was okay. Yeah. And so that's why, but that would be the only reason why we wouldn't. It's their first child, and it's a little girl. So we are, well, even if it was a little boy, we'd still be just as excited. But so it's due at the same time. So we're just gonna stay here in the glory of being grandparents.
I don't blame you. I would do the same thing, but there's always the next time, right?
Absolutely. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Yeah. Well, it's always in September and usually the second or third week. So I'll remind you again next year. And
sounds good.
Well, hope we'll see you. Okay. Well, then thanks guys for coming. You're always welcome.
Thank you for coming.
So I would just like to say on behalf of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest disappearing man, Frank Oliver Beans, this has been the Pork and Bean Show. Thank you to Robin and Pat McCRAY. We love you guys. And thank you for Arla for stopping in like she often does. And thanks to Bill Steenbeke as well for sharing and caring and commenting and all that good stuff. So everybody, we'll see you next week. And stay positive out there. And don't forget, the change is within you. It's not a great, big, huge, impossible situation. It's all, starts with the individual.
Yep.
So
take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.